Let me tell you about my first four-wheel drive. Hey, I'm Josh, and you're watching Days of Pain and Victory. This is another episode of Bench Race. So I wanted to tell you about my first four-wheel drive. If you've been into this sport of wheeling, everybody's got that first four-wheel drive. And if you're wanting to get into this sport, you might be wondering, what's the best four-wheel drive to get into? So my first four-wheel drive wasn't a Jeep. Sadly, it wasn't a Chevy either. It was a Nissan 720 pickup. It was affectionately known as Cooter. It was this gross piss yellow, and it was way underpowered. Oh man, that thing, it would do 0 to 60 in never, but it had low range, and that's all that mattered. It had a 3-inch body lift to clear the 32-inch Super Swampers. Had this sweet roll bar with, some fake KC lights. It was a stick shift, which made wheeling interesting because it did not have the gearing for those tires. So I wheeled that thing for about a year, mostly on Forest Service roads, but got into a little bit of technical stuff, nothing too crazy. Got it stuck a few times in some mud holes that it never should have been in. I did a few modifications. I put a toolbox in the back. My dad and I flipped the bumper upside down and did some modifications. Kind of made it look cool. Made it have a little better approach angle. But after working on it, I started realizing, the aftermarket support for that truck really sucked. And so it was hard to do anything cool, especially with the skills I had at the time. Like, solid axle swap was not in the cards for me at that moment. And the lift kits there was like one company that made a lift kit for that truck, and it was expensive. So ended up trading it in for my Grand Cherokee. Can't believe that place gave me $1,000 for it. It was not worth $1,000, but whatever. Got my Grand Cherokee, and I wheeled that Jeep for like 10 years or so. Looking back, Cooter was a good first four-wheel drive. It had low range. It wasn't pretty, so I didn't mind the National Forest pinstriping that I got on the trails. And it got me out in the woods. It got me out on the trails, so it got me into buying recovery gear. It got me into wheeling. So there's 3 things I think you should look for your first four-wheel drive. Number 1, pick something with some decent aftermarket support. This is especially true if you're also new to wrenching, because if you pick something that's kind of off the wall without a lot of aftermarket support, and you haven't built the skill set in wrenching and fabrication, it's going to be a struggle building that rig. Having a good aftermarket support often means you've got good aftermarket used parts available as well, and there's a lot of bolt-on options to get your rig more capable on the trails and stuff that you can do in a weekend. Number 2, better have low range. Anytime you're doing wheeling, especially on like technical trails and stuff, you really need that low range to give yourself better control on the trails and better power and stay in that power band. Even if you've got a high horsepower rig, low range is a must for rock crawling and technical trails and stuff like that. And lastly, I would choose something with solid axles, front and rear. So most of your Jeeps, like XJs, ZJs, YJs, TJs, those are all straight axle rigs. Land Rovers, that's going to probably bump up the price a bit. Older Fords, older Chevys, older Dodges, those all have straight axles. Suzuki Samurai. And the reason I say find something with a straight axle is straight axles are just a lot stronger for wheeling. There's less moving parts, and so there's less things to break, and it's easier to build them up to withstand the demands of wheeling. There are independent suspension setups that can handle the abuse, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. Trophy trucks and stuff, they have independent front suspensions, but it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, where straight axle rig, you can build them for a lot cheaper to be to be super tough, and it's going to handle really well on trail style and technical style wheeling. So aftermarket support, low range, solid axles. If I was going to go back and pick my first four-wheel drive, I think I would start with square body Chevy. They have stout drivetrain, solid axles, excellent aftermarket support, low range. Pick the right one. The drivetrain is so stout. You can't go wrong with a small block Chevy, Turbo 400 or the SM 465. MP205 case. If you get the 3/4 ton, you're gonna get that corporate 14-bolt rear, Dana 44 front. If you can find a 1 ton, that Kingpin Dana 60, man, there's all kinds of good parts there. And when I had Babe the Blue Ox, I had 33s on it with no lift. With a mild lift and some trimming, you could fit 37s, no problem. So maybe you should go find a square body Chevy. So what was your first four-wheel drive? I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment down below. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Like always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.